Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John's reports for the 22nd. Well, we look at our MBI Magenta here continuing to lead the way, and that's following along with the market's continued push higher. The question is going to be, are we going to get the pivot lower below the MBI white before we reach the 100%, or do we get there first? Shakeout moving to positive territory for the first time. So that has to continue, or you'll get a pretty significant reversal within that, particularly if we don't reach the full 100% level. So that's definitely something to be watching, and whether or not we continue to get a nice rising histogram within it. That would be the sustained value. We're seeing that midterm buyers have picked up the pace here, taking over with green over cyan. That's important transition. If that continues throughout the day, that would definitely call towards the move towards the 100%, and short-term buyers getting their complete reset. Not yet. Obviously, that needs to take place when you get below the zero all the way and come below either magenta or cyan. When we turn to the NASDAQ, similar configuration. Not quite as robust as we see from the S&P, but close enough. All in all, good stuff. They're pretty much identical readings within that, so no issues there. We turn to treasuries. Yield continuing to fade, so that's a relative comfort to the market because it just means there's less pressure and the likelihood of money moving into the market away from treasuries signals continuation of positive. When we look at it from an oil standpoint, of course, the drill baby drill, has its impact, but at the end of the day, there's still some hurdles to go with that, and we'll see how fast things start to transition. We're only a day or so into things, and it's going to take a while, like I said before. A lot of that stuff starts to develop, but if there's a general course, this is the same thing that we're seeing like with the euro, and that where it's been buoyed by the fact that he didn't start with tariffs day one. And so that's the narrative. It's like, well, okay, it hasn't started yet, so we don't have to factor it in. And here is the euro continuing its little push back up. There was some weakness early on because he still says he's planning on tariffs, at least between Mexico and Canada. The EU really wasn't mentioned yet. So we'll see how that starts to impact itself. Of course, you can see MBI white leading now, a dip of the magenta, and that's going to pull back. And some of this, I think, is just a relief of some people. But at the end of the day, they're still buying all the LNG in that in dollars now versus the euro transfer to ruble situation they were doing before, and that. So, again, eurozone not in good shape, so it hasn't really changed much of anything. When we look at it from a gold standpoint, expected continued rise. Inflation is not beat, it's not even beat down, and it's going to continue to be a factor until that gets handled and we start to see some significant changes in spending habits and things like that. I would look for that to change. Likewise, you see that in crypto, Bitcoin had already reached that 100%, backed off from a bit. We do see MBI white leading, but Magenta hasn't dipped below yellow at this particular stage. We may just get a little bit of sideways before that, but if Magenta dips below the yellow, then I would look for a much weaker construct going forward. ETH not showing nearly the robustness of Bitcoin is, and you can see that it had the MBI white lead earlier. Still hasn't gotten the magenta below, but it's been struggling to do anything relevant simply because the excitement is more towards this idea of broader crypto development. From an ES standpoint, though, you can see we had the crossover here, magenta back over the 33. No real strength from shorts at all, even in this interim period of intraday action. So we haven't seen anything since the original pop-up here. And that was met with the return back to the 50% on a little bit of weakness, but we haven't seen any spike relative to that. So we would expect continuation to the upside there from that. And when we look at it from an intraday standpoint, you can see fairly healthy from a 5-minute chart at this particular stage. We're in a little bit of softness right there, but it's turning around here with magenta coming back above, and that should lead right into the open. So all good from that standpoint. We'll wait for any relative exciting news coming from the White House that will stir the market, because it will tend to do that. And we've already seen that there's a bit still of that knee-jerk reaction taking place, as opposed to looking at the broader perspective of things. But that's okay. We'll take it. As always, anything relevant, I'll put on the Skype chat. Have a good one. Trade well.